Hey, everybody, welcome to Secure the Seat Live. My name is Minda Hart, and I'm your host of Secure the Seat. So honored that you be here with us today to have lunch or breakfast or coffee, tea, whatever it is you're doing today. And you could be anywhere on the internet right now, and you're here with us. So I'm so excited that you're here. And I'm even more excited to introduce you to today's guest, Zenell Brown. She is an author. She is also an executive court administrator, an attorney, all the beautiful Black woman things. Zenell, tell everybody a little bit more about you and welcome to Secure the Seat.
Well, thank you for having me, Minda. As you stated, I'm an attorney. I've been in the law for 20 plus years. I practice in Detroit as a court administrator, which is a little different than actually a courtroom setting. And I've had the opportunity to serve as the executive court administrator since 2014. And that basically means that I'm behind the scenes making sure that justice is able to open its doors, or at this point, be on Zoom to do what judges do. And I also have finished my work as a diversity practitioner, diversity professional, and so I incorporate all of that. My background is that I come from the family law section where we dealt with a lot of people of color, a lot of paternity and child support issues. So got my feet really wet in that, and now doing the whole thing for the court.
We love it. And I just want to say thank you because you've been supportive on my journey. So thank you for helping me secure my seat as well. So it's such an honor to speak with you. And for those who are watching us on LinkedIn here, what's up? If you've never been with us before, you're in for a treat. And then if you're on YouTube, or I just recently started streaming on Twitter, make sure you get your questions in so that you can make sure that Zenell answers them. So if you're in the comments, we'll be checking, I'll be checking. So make sure you answer the question. But today we're actually going to be talking about something that was important that happened this year, which was the election of our first woman of color, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And I get to talk today with all of you, but ask Zenell some really important questions around the lessons that we learned about inclusion around that election. So let's start with the baselines. Zenell, what is your definition of inclusion and why is it important in the workplace?
So inclusion is more than just being invited to the meeting. It's where you're actually part of the meeting. Someone is looking for you to make a contribution and they're welcoming that contribution. You're there, your presence is acknowledged, you're asked to contribute, you're acknowledged for your contributions, you're giving credit for those contributions. And then if you happen to be missing, somebody's asking like, well, where is Zanelle? Well, let's see what she thinks about this. So people are seeking you out because they value you. They want to hear what you have to say.
I love that. And so, asking about where you are and, are you're not just at the table, you're not just at the seat, but you actually have some real input. And I think we can learn a lot of lessons from this recent election. And with that said, what are like three lessons that you were able to pull from President-elect Joe Biden nominating Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and how we can role model that inclusion in the workplace?
So definitely there's more than three, but asked to just limit it to three. First of all, as women of color, we need to recognize our value, that we bring something to the table. And when we present what we bring to the table, guess what? Everybody's looking. Everybody wants to know what it is. And President-elect Biden even said, hey, not only do I see what it is, I need some of that to make sure that I can make this win. Another thing is to be courageous. One of the things that Senator Harris represented was someone who was persistent. This is my stand, this is my voice, this is what I believe in. I'm going to share it. I'm not going to back down. So not only was she courageous, she was prepared. Sometimes it was with a quick remark. Sometimes it was just a smile as you're watching things go by. So definitely that way that we present ourselves. And finally, to be authentic, be who you are. You can be a Black woman, an Indian woman, and still make sure that you're securing your seat at the table. So definitely, there's so many lessons there, but those are the three that stood out for me.
I love that. And like you said, there's so much, but something that the chat was going wild saying, yes, be ready, win the seat. And we saw that she was ready on every,
She
every
was ready. She was ready.
Absolutely. Again, if you have any questions for Zenell, please drop them in the chat. I'm going to take a moment from the questions that I have for you and ask a couple from the audience. Zanell, can you tell us a time when you felt included in the workplace and what did that look like?
So when I first started out as the court administrator, the person that I worked for was a traditional or late baby boomer white male. And we would go to meetings, and of course, there'll be a lot of attention on him or deferring to him, our chief judge. And he basically said, well, this is the person who basically runs the operation. So divert your attention, your questions to her. And if they didn't, he would then interject to say, well, Zanelle, what's your thoughts on that? And then I would be prepared because I knew the operations of the court, throw off the data, spit the figures, and then say, I think that this would work for our court or this wouldn't work for our court. But at no point was I ever felt like, okay, I'm just here as window dressing or I'm here to fill a quota. Same type of relationship with my current chief judge. So having the support of a strong ally has definitely opened the door to make sure that I'm included.
I love that. I love that so much. And allies, you can do the same, right? We need people who are going to be in those rooms to also reinforce the inclusion that should be happening if it's not. We have another question for you, Zanell. How can, so it's a very lengthy question, so I'm going to try to
Okay.
down. So hopefully I don't miss the essence of the question, but thank you for asking it. For when you've been in the room and you haven't been included, how can you communicate to your so-called allies or colleagues that you need them to show up for you in these ways?
So it could be a conversation afterwards, maybe that they were just oblivious. Did you realize in that room that everything was directed towards you? And I had the information there. So next time when we go in this room, if it's directed towards you, I will say something like, "Oh, I have that information as court administrator," or you can add something to the conversation to say, "Oh, well, Zanelle probably has that information because that's what her role is."
Yeah.
So you may have to do some prepping of the allies because sometimes they're not prepared and they don't see the same thing that you're seeing. So share your perspective with them.
That's a really great point because I think sometimes I know I've been in the situation when I've been in a room and I'm like, wait a second, didn't you just hear that? Didn't you just see that? And to your point, they're not always seeing and hearing the same things as it lands on us.
Mhm. Yes.
So the conversation may have to be had and giving them those tangible examples of when this happened and how they could have been helpful. So I love it. We have some more questions we'll get back to, but the one question that I wanted to ask you is what trends are you seeing around diversity and inclusion in law firms and in the legal profession as a whole?
So, as far as African American women, we make up like 2% of the population in the legal profession. And what I'm seeing is that there's been a lot of appointment of diversity and inclusion officers, chief diversity officers, and a lot of times that is a woman of color. So I'm seeing that there's been some movement there. My concern is to make sure it's just not symbolic, that not only are you having a chief diversity officer, but that chief diversity officer is actually bringing diversity and inclusion in your workplace and is bringing it to the various bar associations. So I'm seeing some seeds of the conversation take place. Hopefully, they take root and they continue.
I love that because also too we've seen with the going back to Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, some people would say, "Oh, that's just for window dressing," right? But I see that. I mean, we're even seeing it in some of the cabinet picks and
Mhm.
so we are seeing it in different ways. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I believe that we'll find out in January where these women are able to actually put some influence and to help shape what our nation looks like. So yes, we've done the first step. You've made the appointments. The second step is now let them do the work.
I love it. I love it. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. But Zanelle, you're on Secure the Seat, and I don't know if you know this, but I am a lover of grits and rap lyrics, and I can't. Well, you've read the memo, so you know I love rap lyrics. But um, if I can't let you leave here without my bonus question, so I have to ask: what is your favorite rap lyric and why?
So it would be notorious big, more money, more problems. And the why is because it brings the old school with the new school. So you got the generational diversity going on there. And it just has a great beat.
That's it. And you know what? We need to take care of our money, right? Or we are going to have more problems if
Yeah.
we aren't asking for more, if we're not going after what we want. And so, being that I live in New York, you can never go wrong with the notorious BIG. So thank you for that. And everybody watching, I believe, is a leader in some capacity. You don't have to have a title to be a leader. We can all affect change. What is one tip that you would give our audience today on how to leave the workplace better than they found it?
First of all, I think that we have an obligation to help prepare someone reach their dreams. So if that means mentoring, you're mentoring. If that means sponsoring, you're sponsoring. But you want to make sure that you're not the only person who ever walks through the door and who's sitting at that table that looks like you. So you're reaching back, whether it's in your workplace or it's some type of volunteer venture, even. But you want to make sure that there's always someone prepared to come after you.
I love it because securing our seat isn't just about us getting our seat, but it's making sure that we're also bringing others with us. So thank you so much for that. Such great advice. This is the way we have to start our Mondays with the good dropping of the gems. That's the only way I know how to get a Monday. So thank you, Zenell.
You're welcome.
Let's jump back to a couple questions before we round out the show. But we have some really great questions in the chat. And again, thank you for everybody who joins us each Monday at noon. What advice do you have for a person who fears the retribution from being their authentic self at work?
Sometimes you may have to find another workplace where you don't have to fear that, but also you may have an HR who is aware of those type of circumstances and can help, if there is retribution to address that. But just being very honest, that wears on you. So again, if you're not in a place where you can be you, you may want to find another place where you can.
Yeah, exactly. That's really great advice. And I know, like, you may not be able to quit today or by the end of the week, but start to strategize. What would it look like for you to be able to bring your best self to work, right? And not have that fear, right? That's not even
Yeah.
part of the job description. So thank you for pointing that out. And then we have another great question here. Do we need more allies or more accomplices?
Both. Because I think before people can become accomplices, they probably have to step in the shoes of allies. And definitely, there's a lot of people saying what they do support, but there's a part of more than saying we need for you to do. So, what does that look like in your day to day if you support X? And then once you start putting it in your day to day, then you become a very active ally, and then you can become an accomplice. I'm going to mention your name when I go to this meeting. So, I'm going to recommend you for this project that's coming up. So, yes, we need both of them.
I agree. There's a shortage, so we need however you want to get down, however you want to be helpful. Get in there and make a difference. So I love that. We need both. I know we have some really great people are like, yes, great advice in the chat. Another question that we have time to take is, Zenell, how have you gone about finding a good sponsor in the workplace?
Here's the funny thing, I use LinkedIn. I will look to see who has something that's similar to what I bring to the table, and possibly we're in a similar organization, and I will let that person know, hey, here's what I'm interested in. I'm going to do a upcoming conference for court managers, and the person that I'm presenting the co-presentation with is somebody that I actually connected in on LinkedIn. I had a post, he had a post, we were both talking about diversity and inclusion. And I said, well, this is something I would be interested in sharing at the conference. He's interested in sharing it. It's like, so let's do it as a joint conference, a joint session. And he was open to that. So social media is definitely a way to do it. If you're in the workplace, let those who are in those positions, when you get access to them, let them know what you're interested in, share what your vision is, and tell them how you can contribute and make it better. Oftentimes they're open to it.
Yep, that's really great advice. And listen, for those who join us every week, even if this is your first time, connect with each other, right? Zanelle made a really
Yes.
good point that you're watching on social media. Take a look, follow that person, add them, say, hey, I like to, I just was at the same talk you were at, right? Let's connect, let's help each other. This is the way that we build our squad. And I just love it so much. And the chat is loving it too. Zenell, how can people support you, work with you, hire you, all the things?
Well, I do have a 9 to 5, so I work at the Third Circuit Court in Detroit. But I do have a book out that's called Conversations, Coffee and Conversations, Inclusion and Belonging. Definitely, you can find that on Amazon. And I do almost like a daily post on LinkedIn about something with diversity and inclusion. Oftentimes it's with the law, other times it's something very general. So definitely follow me on LinkedIn, Twitter. Both of those are my favorite platforms. So definitely, I'm out there for you.
Great. And we're not trying to take you from your day job, but maybe someone might want to hire you to give a talk or something. Say the name of your book one more time so people can hear it.
Sure. Coffee and Conversations, Inclusion and Belonging.
Get it for your staff. This is a great way you can have conversations. You're trying to connect with your teammates or, have something for people. This is a great opportunity for you to get that in your toolkit today. Zenell, any final thoughts that you just want to leave everybody with? I know we only have a couple more weeks left of the new year, and so people will be thinking about things. Want to hand it back over to you.
So when I started off 2020, my thought was that, okay, this is going to be the year of inclusion. And that's sort of what the book goes into as well. This is the year of inclusion. I started that's my mantra. That's when I'm speaking, when I'm going out. I'm bringing it to the legal field. I don't care what anyone else is doing, but that's my thing. So as we close this year out, I would say figure out what's your thing in 2021 and go at it 365. You may not get everything that you're setting out to get, but you're going to get a lot further than if you chose, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines. So be very serious about what you're up to and go for it and pursue it.
I love it. I love it. And I see so many people in the chat, and I want to shout out Marsha. Thank you for all of your support too, and just everybody who's come to the community. But that's such great advice. Don't stand on the sideline. There's still even a couple of weeks left here that in the
Right.
year you decide that you don't want to rest yet. You can still reach out to some people and shoot your shot. The last thing that I want to tell you, I've really just enjoyed today's conversation. So again, thank you, Zenell. And if you haven't read the memo, I would implore you to go wherever you like to buy your books. It'd be a great opportunity for you to gift this book this year so that someone in your network will have the tools that they need as they lean into 2021. And then next week, make sure you join us because I'm hosting a special holiday party for all of you virtually here on Secure the Seat, where we'll be playing games and having some fun. So I'll see you next week. Zenell, such a pleasure. Have a great rest of your week and keep securing your seat.
Thank you, Minda.